Titans, the division is ours. I don't care what Houston did yesterday. They're going to go get their Letterman jackets again. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-6 against the Titans since Pat McAfee came up here and did his wrestling announcement. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons since I was a senior in high school.
What's up, Titans fans, and welcome to another edition of Titans Global Podcast. I'm your host, Maximus Titan Fan, and with me, as always, is my dude, Link. What's up, Link?
What's going on, man? Good to see everybody again. Glad to be back with y'all. Again, just like always, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and most importantly, make sure to comment. We want to hear from you guys. As always, this show's about you, so we want y'all to join in on the conversation. So excited to be here.
Absolutely, and tonight we have a special guest coming up. We've got Massey Too Savage from Sports Nation Nashville, also a part of the network of the Blue Box production. What's up, Massey?
What's up, guys? Good to see y'all, man. Super glad to be on the show. Like I said earlier, I've been following you guys for a while, so super excited to see what we have to unpack for today's show.
All right, man. Yeah, I'm super excited too. To be honest, we're talking about a little bit more about free agents. We're going to start our new segment of heavy hitters. Trust me, you don't want to miss that part. That's pretty awesome. Or I think it's going to be. We're going to do a little bit of show and tell. And we're also going to be talking about our coaches just a little bit. New coaches that don't really, whatever. Anyway, I'm just going to talk about a trend that we're seeing with the Titans. But let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Free agents. Casualties. It's something that happens to every team. Honestly, I feel sorry for guys, that do have to have this happen, especially if you're on a team that's not winning, like the Chargers. And that's the guy I'm going to talk about first. And I feel bad for him, but Khalil Mack, man.
Yeah.
Even though I think he's 30 or 31, he's still a very high rate. He's still playing at a very high rate. I think he had 17 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, and 21 tackles for loss. Him and Simmons, especially with Landry on the other side, I feel like Khalil Mack would be a destroyer. Of course he would be. My God, I can't imagine the heat we would be bringing at that point. But I don't know if we can take on a lofty contract like he's going to want. They get $38 million in savings just from cutting him, so it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, and that one kind of – I think that one was all about money because the Chargers are kind of one of those teams that feel like they're right on the cusp of kind of having that breakout season and making a deep run in the playoffs. And I just feel like for the price that he wants, I don't know if it's something the Titans want to get into. I mean, if the Chargers aren't interested, I don't see the Titans being interested. I mean, there's some teams out there that I think would make a good fit, and I think the Titans are maybe top 10, 15 on that list. But somebody's going to have to go all in for a player like that. And I just don't see this team with a new coaching staff in what some people consider a rebuild type of year. I just don't know that that's the target that I would want to go for, because to me, this isn't a team that's a Khalil Mack away from a Super Bowl, if that makes any sense.
Makes perfect sense, man. If I'm being honest, I really only brought him up because I knew a bunch of people would be in the comments talking about Khalil Mack if we were talking about cap casualties, because he's the biggest obvious thumb that's out there, and he is going to garner some attention. He is going to get some call like DeAndre Hopkins did. He's going to get that pull. But I agree with you. I just don't think that we signed somebody for that massive of a contract. What do you think, Massey?
Yeah, no, both of y'all make some great takes on that. So Khalil, that it'll be his fourth team if he doesn't stay with the Chargers, which that doesn't look probable at all. So, good. I could see him. I agree with you both. I don't think the Titans would be the right fit for him because, and like Link said, I don't think that's the key or one of the missing keys to get us to the Super Bowl. I think our linebacker back core is decent right now. Yes, we can add some different players or better players to make the middle of the defense better, but I think the secondary needs to be the main focus as far as our defense goes, or a lot of the focus. Maybe not the main focus, but a lot of it. So yeah, Khalil Mack, definitely a big eye. Still like you said, Maximus, that he's only 30, 31. I know that's a little bit older for a linebacker in the NFL, but I feel like he's still got it in him. So it'd be cool to see him, go to another team and actually get a little bit more success, kind of similar. I know he didn't have like super great success with the Bears, but he's a good player and he deserves. He's kind of similar to Henry. He deserves to be on a team to where they have a chance to make a deep run.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And I think that's what'll happen. He'll end up either on a team that, is headed for a championship or a team that just has a lot of excess money to throw at somebody. If he's playing for the money, and at his age, who can blame him? I'd be playing on my name too at 30-something years old in the NFL.
100%.
I don't know that I'd be taking it easy, but he's not. He got 17 sacks. So, he's going to be worth the contract somebody gives him, but I just don't think it's us, and I don't see it as probable. Possible, not probable.
Yeah, especially being a linebacker in the NFL. You do the hitting, and you also take a lot of hits just on those hard blocking plays and things like that.
Yeah, and I agree that defensive back is definitely going to be the biggest, I think, defensive, focal points. But I think that if you look at another edge rusher that probably will be a cap casualty is Hassan Reddick. I think he's probably much more in the price range that we're looking for the other side. And then, Arden Key can be who we thought he would be in a backup role coming off coming off the bench, warm, ready to go. But, still he wants 13 to 15 mil a year and, probably an $8 to $10 million signing bonus. So, yeah, that's still pretty high, but, we got a lot of moves. We got a lot of room. Rand knows how to work the magic, and Brinker, I think is his name, knows how to work the contract magic.
That's right.
Any thoughts on Reddick?
Yeah, I think it could be a good fit. I definitely like what you would get in him money-wise more than I would somebody like Khalil Mack. That's a given. But like you said, the Titans are kind of at a point. They have depth at that position. I'm not super worried about that position. I think the focus would be more DBs, would be more wide receivers. So if you can get somebody in kind of that medium range who can be somewhat productive and still play a starting role, but kind of share that role with somebody like Arden Key, I think that's what you're looking for if you're the Titans. You don't really need a superstar there with the depth that you've got. I hate to say it, but it's kind of a plug and play for this team. The way that I'm at least hoping that they're going to scheme. I think you could get a decent player for a lot less money. So, yeah, I think it'd be a good fit for sure.
Yeah, and to be honest, you transitioned perfectly into a player that I think is going to be kind of a surprise cut to people. I think people are going to be like, why did we cut him? Well, if you look at his stats this year, you'll understand, especially with the playing time he got. But Rashad Weaver is probably going to be cut. It's about $1 million in savings, which isn't that much. But when you look at the product he put out, which wasn't that much at all, if any, especially, I really, in the other offseason, I was hoping that those two combined would make a really great defensive end, but that's just not how it worked out. Arden Key played like Arden Key played last year, and Rashad Weaver just fell off the map which was just, abysmal. But go ahead, Link.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say. I mean, I think you're exactly right, and I will say, credit to Weaver when Landry went down a couple years ago. He stepped up and he did his thing. But with Landry coming back, and I feel like starting next season, we're gonna see Landry start to look a lot more like Landry, like we did towards the end of this season. So yeah, Weaver's one of those guys that I wanted to see him excel, and he's one of those kind of underdog stories. But I feel like the $1 million you could save is a little bit more important because, again, you have so much depth at that position. And I don't see Weaver being on this team next year. So I completely agree with you there.
Yeah, for sure. Massey, you got anything? I know you didn't get to see last week, or week before last, I guess. We were talking a little bit about free agents, but we were only talking about the Titans free agents and who we would cut and keep. Any special ones out there that you want to keep?
Yeah, man. I think a big eye that the Titans need to have their eyes on is Danico Autry. I think they need to bring that guy back. The last, I think, 2 or 3 seasons he's been with us, he's played his butt off, and he's gotten to the quarterback consistently. I feel like him and Jeffrey Simmons complement each other very well on that defensive line. And then, like both of you have been saying, if we can bring in, don't necessarily have to be a veteran linebacker or anything like that, but if we bring in a younger to mid, almost a veteran, whatever you want to call it in the linebacker years of age, but if you can bring in something like that and get the camaraderie of your linebacker room and on the field play and things like that, and then of course you fix what you need to fix in the secondary, I think keeping Autry, because he has the 2 to 3 seasons with the Titans already. You're already keeping Simmons. We all know he's a dog. So you keep them 2 together. You add, like y'all said, Landry in there. I mean, that to me seems like it could be an unstoppable rush at the quarterback, or even unstoppable like run, or a very good stopping run defense for us if they put those pieces together. So I think Danico Autry needs to be eyeballed by the Titans front office and things. And what do y'all guys think about Danico? Should we keep him?
To be honest, he played at an extremely high level. It was his best season to date. And to be honest, yeah, for the low money that he's probably going to cost, yeah, I would probably re-sign him. Although, it's just a 1-year deal. I mean, that's got to be known. But moving on, because I don't want to spend too much time on free agents. There's a couple free agents out there that I like. One I really want to, 2, I guess, I really want to focus in on. First one is Andre James, center for the Raiders. He's 26 years old, allowed 4 sacks and 3 penalties in 2023. Played 963 snaps, so he did miss a little bit of time. But his projections are like 3 years for $24 million. It's like $8 million a year for a center that only produced 4 sacks, unlike Aaron Brewer.
Yeah, I don't hate that one, and I've actually got another center in mind. I'm a little torn on it, and I'm actually very torn on it. Connor Williams from the Miami Dolphins. And something about this guy. Now, I think it was against the Titans when he tore his ACL, correct? Like week 14 when they played? Okay. So, again, we don't know if he's going to be ready come the start of the season, but this guy has shown a lot of promise and he's shown a lot of production. So, for me, I feel like if you can again, I don't know that this team is making a Super Bowl run next year. I think we are in a little bit of a rebuilding scenario. So if you can get somebody like that and you can get them in, even if you don't have them for the first 5 to 6 weeks. I mean, we did the same thing with NPF last year. Now, NPF came in and really still didn't produce the way that everybody thought he was going to. But I feel like this guy could come in. He could make a difference when he does get back, when he does get healthy and he is 100%. So that's kind of the center I've got my eye on in free agency if they decide to go that route.
That's great. Go ahead, Matthew. You got something for us, bro?
Well, I mean, really, I'll go with the one you picked, Max. I would like to see the center from the Raiders, especially this last year, like you had said, only allowing 4 sacks. And also, though a center for both of y'all's picks, a center is like a very big key piece that I feel like this Titans offense needs. And that the center is the centerpiece of your offensive line. You start there, go big as you can in either one of those guys, and then obviously you work out the right guard, left guard, and things like that. So I'm gonna go with Max's pick on that. I definitely like the center from the Raiders.
Well, really, I was looking at two guys, and I was gonna say that you'll see a trend here. But here's my notes, just in case anybody knows how floppy I write. But who's that second guy right there? Oh, it's Connor Williams from Miami. Yeah. By the way, both centers, both are 26 years old that we were talking about. Connor Williams had 1 sack. He had 7 penalties, so a little bit higher on the penalty problem. Right. But that's okay. And that's the only reason I would maybe tweak to Andre just a little bit. And the only reason I say that is because penalties kind of show discipline. And for me, a guy that gets less penalties just shows that he's, even if his team's getting more penalties, if he's getting less penalties, well, then that's, he's showing more discipline than even the guys around him. So even on a bad team, if you're getting low penalties, it's a good sign. But 7 still isn't bad, especially with 1 sack, man. Again, I don't want to pull up Aaron Brewer's numbers.
Let's not.
But I can say he was tied for first in the league for, I think it was either pressures or sacks. I can't remember.
I believe it was pressures. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was pressures.
I think he was top 5, though, for sacks. He's terrible. He's absolutely terrible as a passing center. No offense, he did okay as a running guy, but
team. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness! All right, so obviously free agents I didn't talk about that are T. Higgins, Pittman, and even Hollywood, which I would like to have.
Yeah.
And people are rating Mike Evans just above Hollywood. And me and Massey were actually having a pretty good conversation before the show about where we would rank those guys. And I was like, I think Hollywood's just got a tick more just because of his ability to stretch the field.
Yes.
And you got to remember, man, he's playing with Murray, which is just, oh, man, I feel bad for you, dude.
Yeah, I'm kind of with y'all on that one. And for me, I really got torn on this one because let's be honest, it does look like T. Higgins is going to get franchise tagged. And going into this for the last few weeks, we've been talking about, that was your home run. That's the one you go for. And I will say credit, and I've seen some reports, and I don't want to put too many eggs in that basket because I haven't seen anything official, but apparently Will Levis is a pretty desired quarterback in this league. I think the whole Pro Bowl stuff, I know we didn't play it, but just I don't want to go to the Super Bowl because I want the first time I go to be me playing in it. Just the attitude that he brings to this team. I could definitely see wide receivers around this league saying, you know what, like I want to go to Tennessee. I want this guy to be my quarterback. So I do think there is a draw to him from around the league. And I think T. Higgins probably wants to come to Tennessee, if I'm being honest. And I think that has a lot to do with the franchise tag that they're about to put on him. But if that happens and you don't get T. Higgins, which it looks like it's kind of moving towards that route, if you had asked me last week, I would have said Mike Evans would be my next go for. But the more that I've kind of dove into it, Hollywood, man, he just brings that next level of speed. And that's what it seems like the Titans have been lacking for the last few years is just that element of speed and the ability to get down the field quick and burn other defensive backs. I mean, that's what it seems like they've been missing in that receiving group. So for me, if I had to make a decision at this point, I think I'd go with Hollywood over Mike Evans right now.
Massey, you got anything to say before I say my piece?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. If I'm choosing between the two, like y'all are, like suggesting, if we don't get T. Higgins, I got to go Hollywood too. And you said it, Link, speed. In my opinion, Mike Evans would be another kind of security blanket, which is what we have, in my opinion, in DeAndre Hopkins. He's that one that he can run the hook route or whatever, pass the first down and get it, not secure the catch, things like that. So if we want two dynamics, excuse me, what we need is the dynamic of a speedster and then the dynamic of a secure first down secure if it's not going to be our tight end, or even if we can get Chig to start catching the ball and get his numbers up and things in the offense, then yeah, I mean, definitely go for a speedster. So I'm with you guys on that 100%. If you don't get T Higgins, go after Hollywood, man. Any team that guy's been on, he's put up numbers.
Yep.
Any quarterback that's thrown him the ball, he's put up the numbers. He's found the end zone, and they've been mainly on deep ball passes, and he's running under them. So I definitely agree with you boys on that one.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's all about pairing. Pairing.
Absolutely.
And that's really what it's about, a complementary football. And what is our team missing? Exactly what you guys were just talking about. Somebody to stretch the field. We got DeAndre Hopkins as a possession receiver, which is he's actually better than a possession receiver, but we need that stretch.
Yeah, and just to your point, when you bring that stretch in, when you bring that guy that can burn DBs and get downfield, then you've got to bring that safety help over to that side, which takes off a lot of those double teams from Hopkins. I mean, how many times did we see DeAndre Hopkins get double last year, but we're still throwing the ball to him because he's the only option on routes? I mean, so when you have that speedster, when you have that guy that can stretch the field, it takes defenders away from double team and Hopkins and puts them, further down the field. So for me, if we're talking about combos and we're talking about playing off each other, that is ideal scenario in my eyes.
Yeah, and another big thing about Hollywood is he has deep ball catchability.
Absolutely.
That's a thing, man. I mean, like you saw it with Traylon Burks last year. Big example. He doesn't have it. I mean, he tried, and it was just a miserable fail. And we've seen that a bunch, anything over 20, 30 yards, and Traylon Burks just does not know how to adjust himself to the catch. Mm-hmm. That's how he got hurt, was not knowing how to adjust himself to a horrible throw that was going out of bounds anyway.
Yep.
But, I mean, I appreciate you going after the ball, but bad decision, man.
Yeah.
But that's his biggest issue. That's my biggest issue with him besides the brick hands. But I'll go ahead and let you say what you were going to say there, Massey.
Yeah, and to both of your guys' point, if you get that dynamic duo at an X and Y receiver standpoint, then not only is it going to open it up, like Link said, that you're going to pull a safety to one side, but guess what? The middle of the field is going to be wide open too, which gives your tight end routes to get open on, and your running back can get routes to get open on. So it gives you multiple options to be able to get first downs, get down the field consistently, and get in the end zone, or at least put 3 points up. We obviously always want the touchdown. We want the 6 points, but if nothing else, at least have that consistency of different options, and I don't mean to mooch on any other team in the NFL or anything, but how do we think Kansas City Chiefs are doing so good? They're getting their outside looking like they're going to be throwing a long streak, and then what do you know? Travis Kelce or Noah Gray, whatever, is right in the middle of the field, wide open, catching those balls, and they're good yards after the catch and things like that. So I feel like we can incorporate Chigakagwu and get his numbers up, and then of course Josh Wiley in his second, third year, if he improves, keeps improving, we have a really good thing going, especially with Tajay in the backfield. We already know. I mean, we've seen that in his rookie year.
Yeah, I do have to say he does bring up a decent point here that Chig definitely disappointed me last season with the drops. Really hoping that was just, we'll say, a lapse in as an athlete. I'll just hope it's that, man. I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe disheartened by the. I don't know.
He showed a lot more promise towards the end of the year. I think to come out in the first part of the season, I think he got in his head. I mean, when you're a tight end in your second year, I mean, it's tough. When you start dropping, you drop the first 3 balls and it stays in your head. And I just felt like he wasn't able to overcome that initially. But I haven't lost faith in Chig. I think he's still a weapon. I think he's still a run after catch guy. I think he's physical. I think he's the type of tight end that can be very successful in this league. I think his ceiling is extremely high. And I'm not sold out on him yet. I think this year is going to be a lot better for him. I think he's going to have more success early, but to to Massey's point, I mean, you've got this guy Josh Wiley too, and I mean he's just as much of a threat. So again, I'm not too worried about the tight end position going into it, but we'll see what happens with Chig, and then we'll go from there. But the drop balls last year in the first part of the season, that really isn't on my mind as much going into this next season. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Let's move on to our next segment, which is something that I think everybody will like. I don't know. I'm an old school Titans fan, so I love seeing people just get hit in the mouth. That's my favorite thing, watching somebody just get decked, man. And especially when it's a clean hit. You know, when it's a clean hit and you lay somebody out, oh man. Especially when you're a smaller guy and you lay at a bigger dude. That always makes me excited. But anyway, so our heavy hitters. Blake, I'll let you go first.
Yeah. Normally when you think heavy hitters, you're thinking defense. And that's initially what I first thought about when we, started talking about doing this segment. And for me, for the first one, I couldn't help it. I had to bring in an offensive player, and everybody knows that's Derrick Henry. When you talk about big hitters in this league and you talk about, who puts it on people and who can just shove people out of the way and keep going, Derrick Henry is S tier in that class. I mean, he's head and shoulders above everybody else. And just in case anybody forgot, we've got the videos to prove it. Everybody remembers this one.
Oh, yeah.
Get out of the way. Unfortunately, the penalty brought it back, but it stayed in that man's head for a long, long time. And then this one, maybe not as well known, but this one against Detroit, this one really got me. Comes around the edge, you see the speed, and then you see the power. So when we're talking heavy hitters, nothing is more scary than being a defensive back and having to make the business decision to go toe-to-toe with Derrick Henry, because that arm's coming out and you're going to end up on your face at some point. So for me, my heavy hitter this week is and always will be the king, Mr. Derrick Henry.
Yeah, what's crazy about the Norman one is Josh Norman's not a small dude. He's like 6'1" and 210 pounds or something like it. He's a pretty sizable dude. And Derrick Henry just throws him aside like he's my size. I mean, that's just insane.
Yep.
Derrick Henry's such a...
And don't sleep on him. I think there's still more to come from Derrick Henry. I don't know that it's with this Titans team. Probably not, if we're being honest. But I think he's still got some wheels left on him. I think he's still got tread on the tires. And, I mean, I don't know. I follow him on social media. And, I mean, his workouts, the dude's not slowing down. I don't care how old he is. And, Father Time is undefeated. But so is Derrick Henry. So we'll see who wins on that one.
Yeah, man. I think as most, most Titans fans like us that are fanalists like us, we know what's coming. We don't have to like it, but we know what's coming.
Yep.
And it stinks. But you can't shut down hope. I mean, hey, as long as he's still not signed with another team,
that's right.
There's hope. But anyway, Massey, go ahead, man. I know everybody's got love for Henry.
Yeah, man. No, that's really crazy, Link, because I was actually going to make a joke and be like, oh, my heavy hitter is Derrick Henry. And then, of course, I was going to have another one. But no, that's awesome. Yeah, 100%. He's definitely got to be on that side of the list, no matter. I've always said he's like a linebacker body at running back position. So got to be on top of that list. But no, man, I'm gonna kick it a little bit old school, kind of back to when I actually got into being a Titans fan. I was really young. So I'm going to go Keith Bullock, man. That guy was a monster for our Tennessee Titans. I feel like he was the closest thing to a Ray Lewis for our Titans that we could have had in that era of football. So, yeah, man, I'm going to go Keith Bullock, man. He gave me a lot of awesome memories, made me want to, as a little dude myself, which I was, back then. I kind of short, but I put on some weight. I got a belly now, but but as a little dude myself back when I was in high school and things like that, that inspired me to play like I was a a bodybuilder type body and just try and run through people. Didn't always go as planned, a lot of times I got ran through, but whatever, I got back up and kept trying. But yeah, man, I got to go Keith Bullock. What about you, Max? Who you got?
Well, I do have to say Keith Bullock is amazing. Cable's one of my favorites. It is my wife's favorite Titan. I always say that every time I talk about Keith Bullock. I don't know why, but Mr. Monday Night, man, he was amazing. Corey brings up a decent point, but he's probably right. I hate to say that, y'all, but it's the most logical place for him to go. But God, why does every single time one of our greats leaves, they go to Ravens? Anyway, for my heavy hitter of the week, I don't have as fancy of a video, but that's because, mainly because one of my heavy hitters played way back in the day. And the only really good footage they have of him is him getting into a fight on the field. And it was really, really epic. And if you're a good old school Titans fan, Cortland Finnegan. And before I play the tape, the first part is just him busting people up and just kind of a highlight reel of him. But the second part is the fight. The first clip is how it started in the play before the fight, and then the second clip is the actual fight. By the way, keep in mind, Cortland Finnegan is 5'10", and weighs about 185 pounds, which is about 30 pounds bigger than me. And Andre Johnson was 6'3" and 230 pounds at the time of filming. All right, so here we go. Cortland Finnegan. Boom. God, I love that little dude, man. He played so big, dude. Yeah.
I mean, and you talk about not just the physicality, but the athleticism. I mean, the vertical, the speed. I mean, that's what you're missing now in that secondary, I feel like, and I hate to say it.
Oh, yeah, and just, man, like I say, he played so much bigger. Look at that, dude. Yeah. I mean, look at this.
The word I like to use is tenacity. That man had so much, like, built-in tenacity and, like, anger when he stepped on the field. He was just always ready to go. It didn't matter who was in front of him, as you can see right here.
Jeez.
And that is the famous fight right there. And look, man, I ain't gonna lie and say my boy Court just straight whooped Andre Johnson like that. I'm not trying to be a homer here, but hey, man, he did all right.
But here's what I will say
against the 6'3".
Here's what I will say. Andre Johnson came out of that obviously thinking he won the fight, but at the same time, he's like, this little man just walked up, punched me in the helmet, then threw my helmet off and took probably one of the biggest, I don't know if you'd call that an uppercut, but took a heavy shot on his knees and popped right back up clapping. I mean, there is nothing that gets in your head more than somebody taking your best shot and then stands up and immediately starts clapping. I mean, and that right there, I mean, that he lived rent-free in Andre Johnson's head and probably still does to this day for that fight.
Andre Johnson became a Tennessee Titan after that.
Absolutely. Yep.
I wasn't going to bring it up because Johnson was terrible for us, but hey, whatever, man. But check this out, dude. Corey's coming with the thunder, dude. Look at this. Do you remember Lorenzo? Oh my God, dude. Yeah, he was a thumper, man. When he was leading for Eddie George, there wasn't a lot that you could do about that. Eddie George and that dude in the way. Oh my God. Yeah. That's what I was saying when I was watching the Super Bowl. I was literally talking to my father and my brother-in-law going, man, I want a use check. How do we get a use check? That dude is like multifaceted. Plus, he loves to smack people in the mouth. That's just what he does. And my God, it just works so well.
Yeah, and that's why
Lindell White should go on that hit list too. Lindell White.
It's not a bad one.
the part of the ground and pound with Chris Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, that was a similar type of. I mean, obviously Chris Johnson wasn't Eddie George, but similar type of way that they played off each other. I mean, he kind of led the way for Chris Johnson to get around that edge and then put the speed on people. But yeah, and I mean, to Max's point, it seems the league's really getting away from the fullback position, and I don't fully understand that because it does bring in that multifaceted player who can run those quick little slant routes across the middle, like we were talking about earlier. When you open up the middle of the field, they can lead the way for the running backs, whether it be a speed guy on the edge or a power guy up the middle. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate to see the Titans kind of go to something like that. And I feel like they should have done that with Henry. I feel like Henry could have had even more success had he had somebody like Lorenzo Neal or somebody kind of lead the way for him.
Yeah, man. And I'll say this. I know Madden isn't real life, and I hate to use Madden euphemisms in real life, but come on, man. Anybody who's played Madden, you know that stupid little I formation play where you got 3 tight ends on the field and you run that little curl route. It always works, man. He's always open for like 4 yards or 5 yards, like guaranteed every single time.
Yeah.
Because nobody blocks the fullback, man, especially not when you got 2 great wide receivers on the field. Yep. Not just, not going into that, but when you got 2 great wide receivers on the field, you got 2 good tight ends, 1 great, 1 good, whatever you want to call it, however you want to say it, a good halfback that can receive out of the back end. You start opening up a whole playbook, especially for somebody who can scheme properly, Tim Kelly. Look, dude, he was better than Downing, but come on, man. That's like saying you're the smartest kid on the short bus. Let's not kid ourselves here. Saying that it was better. Man, I was happy until like 3 games in, and then I was like, what is he doing? Why?
Agreed.
I don't understand. I don't get it. And he called good gimmick plays. I'll give him that. He has the knack to know when to pull those gimmick plays out, because those were like 78% successful or some dumb like that. I don't know. I looked up the PFFs on it in advance. It was amazing how many of his gadget trick plays worked.
Yeah.
But most
the problem
of his
is you got
didn't.
I mean, the problem is you got to pull those out basically when you're desperate to score, because you literally can do nothing else. So, I mean, if you can't come in when you go into, and I don't even know how I'm going to get off on this tangent. When you go into a football game, you have your scripted plays. You have your opening plays that you're going to come out with that you feel are designed specifically to beat the type of defense you're playing, and you've got these scripted plays. And that was his problem, was he would come out with the wrong scheme, with the wrong game plan, and then automatically you're already behind the sticks. You've got 2 3 and outs, 3 3 and outs in a row, because you're and then you start pulling out the gadget plays, and then the gadget plays work and everybody's happy, and you've got punters throwing passes to tight ends. I mean, just crazy stuff. And I mean, that's great and all, but when you're down 14 points and you haven't got past the 50-yard line in the last 5 drives, yeah, there's a bigger problem there. So for me, good riddance. So
yeah. Go ahead, Massey. You want to add to that? Nope. All right, cool.
Yeah, no, I got you. My bad. I was trying to get it off mute. But no, you both make really great points on that. Tim Kelly, I mean, like Link said, good riddance, but that's just how I am after I get over the fact. I'm just like, okay, kind of like with Bray Ball. It's just like, all right, damn, that sucks. But so yeah, you got to move forward from Tim Kelly. Just like Link said, if you get into that mode to where your 10 to 15 first plays of the game, like he had explained, they are scripted. They have them wrote down. All right, we know these 10 to 15 plays. Out of the 10 to 15, 10 out of 15 should work and get us in the end zone, or whatever the case may be. If that don't start working, or if that don't work, you got to find a way to change it up. And I felt like for Tim Kelly and also Todd Downey, you can visibly see it threw them into a panic, to where it put the players in a position to where they're out there on the field not doing what they had practiced to do all week leading up to the game. And now they're just out there like, oh man, I ain't seen that play called. I ain't practiced that play in 3 weeks, or whatever the case may be. So feel like it throws them into a frantic. Yeah, I mean that's part of the job. That's what you sign up for. But you got to do better at it, or else, like Link said, you're barely going to get to the 50-yard line, and
Yep.
you know what I mean. So yeah, both of y'all make great points on that, and good riddance to Tim Kelly.
Preach.
Yeah, well, we had a comment here real quick, but yeah, we said it earlier, but yeah, as long as he hasn't signed a contract, there's still hope, Terry. But there's
He's
Yeah.
still a Titan.
Yeah, and I will say, just to kind of bring up some news, and I don't want to get back into free agency. We've kind of moved on from that, but it does say a lot that. So yesterday, by the end of business day, you had 4 players. You had Ron Tannehill, Derrick Henry, Aziz, and Sean Murphy Bunting. So those players, they had till the end of the business day to basically start a new deal with those players, or you had money with them that became basically dead money. So had you reworked a deal with any of those 4 players, that dead money. So for example, Derrick Henry's was 4.7 million. So had you made a new deal with Derrick Henry, that 4.7 million would have just factored into the new contract, and you could have stretched that out over time. Because they didn't do that, they automatically lose that money going into 2024. So it counts against the 2024 basically cap. I wasn't surprised to see that with Henry because, again, I don't think we see a re-signing there. I was slightly surprised to see it with Aziz and Sean Murphy Bunting. They weren't as big of a hit. You had $2.5 million with Aziz, $1.6 million with Sean Murphy Bunting. But right now, because of that, signs kind of point to those 4 players maybe not getting a deal reworked and testing free agency.
Yeah, the only one that really shocked me was Aziz.
Agreed.
Because I feel like he played really well last year. But Sean Murphy, I can see both sides of the argument. Yeah, and that's really it.
And again, that doesn't mean that none of those 4 players could get. I mean, obviously, we know Tannehill's not coming back to this team, but that doesn't mean that Henry, Aziz, or SMB couldn't still be a Titan. It just means that because they didn't rework those deals and stretch that dead money out over time, it seems a little less likely. But again, it happens. It happens where it's been done before, and they just eat it in 2024 anyway, and then put it on the back end of the contract and get that money back in, say, 2027. So it's not a for sure gone conclusion, but again, signs kind of point in that direction.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good sign, especially with Henry, man. With that $4 million, that is the killer right there. Because we re-sign him, that's just $4 million extra we have to, eat.
And Tannehill's was 9.2. I did not realize it was going to be that high. That one hurts.
Dude, we signed him to such a large contract. Well, not we, J-Rob. Man, I know we're beating a dead horse with that guy, and I feel bad for him as much as we slander him on the show. But J-Rob really screwed us, man. I mean, man, I haven't seen cap hell like this since, what was his name? Floyd Reese? I think that was the dude. Maybe it was the guy before Floyd Reese. I can't remember. All right, that's too far back. That's like 20 years ago. But my point is, it's bad. It's really bad. And we're going to be feeling it for about 3 more years before we are completely done with the J-Rob experiment. Massey, you got anything to add to that, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to keep Henry, but I've been saying it. I was saying it when all the trade rumor talks before the trade deadline, all these things were still a conversation. If you can make it make sense, and this is also when Brable was still the head coach. So, I mean, this is like way, rewinding, but I was trying to foreshadow. But if you can make it make sense to keep Henry in this offensive lineup, then by all means, if it makes sense with the front office, with the contracts and things like that, and like to both of y'all's point, losing that 4 point whatever million it was by not redoing the contract before the deadline, that's just like a big that just leaves a big question mark over the whole thing. Just like, all right, well then now it's really in the works. What's fixing to happen? But to Link's point as well, that's just kind of how we've seen it happen before in the NFL. So now fans, it gives us something to speculate about, or like, could we see Henry in a Titans jersey next season? That would be amazing, in my opinion. if it fits the system that they're all the
Yes.
pieces and things that they bring in throughout the offseason, in the draft, and all that stuff. So, like I've been saying in previous shows and things like that, to me, it's a huge like jigsaw puzzle. And they're in my opinion, they've been making the right steps as far as coaching, as far as GM or whatever, to getting the system that we need to be playing under to make a run, make playoff runs, make Super Bowl runs. Let's go be the next dynasty, man. No disrespect to the organization, but I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs win, so, so yeah, man, I definitely feel like they need to, work out whatever kinks they need to as far as Henry goes. I'd love to see Alshire, and Sean Murphy Bunting. I'd love to see them to stay as a Titan as well. I feel like they played pretty well for us this past season, especially just coming in on a fresh team. To me, so I feel like to be able to come in, put a brand new uniform on, play with 52 other players because 53 total, of course, coach and staff and all that stuff's factored in. So yeah, man. Like I was saying earlier in the show, if you can get your key pieces and then bring in more key pieces and then get that camaraderie between your team, then that's the way that you're going to create that dynasty type feel, in my opinion. So, heck yeah.
Yeah, man, we definitely need a change. And I think that's most, what we're all excited about with this new coaching hire and everything, this new culture shift is that we're changing. That was actually what I was going to bring up with the 3 new hires. 2 of them, I have no idea who you are. Scott Fuchs. That's how they say they pronounce it. I'm not going to pronounce it the way I think it should be pronounced. Steve Donatel. I don't know. I mean, he apparently he was at Stanford, defensive quality control coach or something like that at Stanford. But anyway, the other guy is Colt Anderson from the Bengals. Last 4 years with the Bengals, was the assistant special teams coach. Now is the special teams coach for us. I'm actually really excited about that one because not only is he bringing, Callahan bringing one of his buddies over from the Bengals, and they do have a very, very good special teams actually. But the other 2 guys, they're all young. I mean, Colt Anderson is the oldest one out of the 3, and he's 38 years old. The other 2 is 31 and 29, respectively. That's a young coaching staff, and they are building young people at the core of it. I mean, there are some older guys that have the wisdom or whatever, but that's the shift, that's the culture, that's the movement is youth.
Yep.
It's getting younger on the field. It's getting younger in the coaching staff. It's getting younger on the GM level. Everybody's younger. Yep. And I'm down for it.
Yeah, I am too. And again, we kind of touched on that a little bit. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but having the younger coordinators and then the older positional coaches. Now, we kind of got away from that with some of these hires, but like your offensive line coach, Brian's dad, Bill, having a little bit of seniority in those positional groups, I think that's good for development. But then having that freshness, those young people in the coordinator positions, what that does is that allows them to bring a little bit of a new spin on things, something that maybe other teams in the league haven't seen. I mean, they have a lot of fresh ideas. I mean, we've seen people like Mike McDaniel, for example. I mean, these younger guys, they know how to work things around. They know how to scheme things better. You get people like Vrabel, and I said this. I said it when he was first hired, and I said it when he was fired. He came from the Patriots, and he played old school football, and he tried to shove that down everybody's throat. Everything was his way. I felt like the way that he wanted to do things may have worked when he played, but it just doesn't work now. So I'm glad to see the freshness come into it. And just like you guys said, I think we're headed in the right direction. I really like the way we're going. So this leaves one more, if I'm not mistaken, I think we have one more position to fill, and that's strength and conditioning. So maybe we'll find somebody who can slow down some of the injuries. I don't know how that works out, but as of right now, that's the only position needed to complete this coaching staff. And so far, I absolutely love what Callahan and Carthon has put together.
Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't want to be that guy.
No,
I wouldn't want to be the new strength and conditioning coach or whoever's in charge of people getting injured. I wouldn't want to be that guy.
Not at all.
I feel bad for whoever is, because we better not get hurt, or we're coming for your throat, son. All right, so to kind of wrap up, because we're getting a little bit long here, show and tell. Mm-hmm. Now, I think Massey said he had kind of a special show and tell to show us. So what you got, Massey?
Yeah, man. So this one means a lot to me. I'll give y'all the backstory. It's the jersey I have on, and also I have a second. It's identical. One's just bigger than the other one. So the season opener of the Titans versus Cardinals, I believe it was the 2021 going into the 2022 season. My older brother, he had gifted me and my wife a wedding gift to go to the Titans game. She wasn't able to go, so we took a couple of our brothers with us. But as a gift to both of us, while we were at that game, my brother brought my wife a jersey, and then he also bought me a jersey, which is the one behind me. So that meant so much to me for him to be able to do that for our wedding. Unfortunately, 1 month and 2 days after we got married, my wife tragically passed away in a car accident. So, a lot of people would just see these two jerseys as two really cool Henry Titans jerseys, but I see them as something more than just football. And I carry on my wife's legacy. She would always wear them with me. Excuse me. During the Titans games and things like that. We had a wonderful 8-year relationship, and like I said, we were able to be married for 1 month and 2 days before we lost her. But yeah, man, that's my show and tell. That was the only thing I could think of. I thought it was a great story, a beautiful way for me to receive these, me and my wife to receive these, and unfortunately, things ended the way they did, but we're still representing. We had 2 daughters together, so we're still kicking life's butt every single day for her.
There you go, man.
That's awesome, man.
Hey, that's awesome. And just to speak to that, that's why we do this show, and that's why we have people like you on, and that just speaks. It's about more than football. It really is. I mean, it's about relationships. It's about camaraderie, and this is a family. I mean, just the Titans fans. I mean, show up with us. I mean, it is. It's a family, and that really tugs at my heart, because football, it brings people together, and it's something shared between people that they can really connect on. And just you having that story, that's an awesome thing, man. Absolutely awesome thing.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that a lot. As y'all can tell, it is hard for me to talk about, but I feel like, she gives me strength. Our kids give me strength Absolutely. Every day to be able to say it out loud. And, it's not easy, but, my dad's always had a saying that life goes on, and I have to continue to be a human being for me and my kids every day. So they keep me going, and they're starting to get into sports too. So it makes everything, it puts a smile on my face where I don't always have to have like a frown. You know what I mean? Turn 100%. That frown upside down.
There you go. Heck yeah, man.
That's awesome, man. That's an awesome way to live life. Everybody should have that view. All right, so for my show and tell, I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Suspense. I like it.
You know it's good when he's got to get up to go get it.
That's right. I have no idea what this is either. I mean, this is going to be just as much a surprise to me as it is for everybody watching. Here we go.
So this is what I originally wanted to show last week, but I couldn't find it. My mother hand-stitched this robe, bro.
Wow.
And I'm talking about, it's got pockets, a matching belt, 2 pockets, a matching belt. I mean, this is a full-on, this is a sweet little robe. By the way, I've had this like 15 years, and this isn't something that I don't use. I use this like all the time, bro. I'm tiny and skinny, and I drink alcohol a little bit. So I get a little bit cold, especially in the wintertime. Yeah. And mom's robe, dude. Love mom. Big shout out.
That's incredible.
Gift of the century, Mom. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I know, right?
My mom, if you're watching, no, I'm just kidding.
Literally, people, when I show it to them, they're like, nah, she didn't make that, man. no, where's the tag? And I'm like, no, dude, there's no tag. You won't find it. It's some Walmart, I don't know, whatever cloth they had at Walmart 15 years ago. But, it's one
That's
of a kind.
awesome. That's awesome, man. Heck yeah.
All right, so Link, you got anything for show and tell this week?
Unfortunately, I don't, guys. I'm in the process of moving, and I feel so bad. But I got y'all next week. I've got a real good one coming up for you. Right now, all my stuff is packed in boxes, and I couldn't even tell you which box is which right now. So hang tight with me. Next week, I got something good for everybody.
It's totally cool, man. You see this light right here? I'll go ahead and fill in. This light was literally given to me by I run a mechanic shop. When I say mechanic shop, I run a mechanics division of a body shop that's one of the largest body shops in East Tennessee. I'm not going to drop the name because that's ridiculous. But one of my customers found out I was doing this show and brought me this light and says, man, it don't work. But I'm an electric guy. I went to school for electronic engineering, believe that or not. And so I just rewired it and bam, light works.
Heck yeah.
And it's one of the coolest things. And it's so old, man. It's like the oldest thing. It's got to be at least 15 years old just by the looks and the cheap plastic and stuff. But pretty sweet.
Absolutely awesome, man. Heck yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I had to show off two things, but whatever. It's cool.
Thanks for making up for me, man. I appreciate that.
No big deal, man. We were on a weird night and a weird time, and it was I'm sure it wasn't the show everybody was expecting, but I think it was still a pretty bomb show.
Absolutely.
I'm sure everybody like me was a little disappointed that Jim Wyatt had to reschedule, but it's okay. It's all right. We're going to get him on the show eventually. He's going to come on. I know he is. Until then, any final thoughts for this week, guys?
For me, just that, we got big things coming in the works. We got great guests like this man on all the time. So stay tuned. There's big things to come, and we want y'all to be a part of it.
Heck yeah. Hey, I second that, guys. And I just want to say congratulations. You guys are kicking butt. Titans Global Podcast, guys. If y'all haven't yet, go check them out on Facebook, YouTube. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, share, follow them if you're not already, man. I appreciate you guys so much. I had to take a long break from being on podcasts, much needed my family time and everything like that. But man, we are coming back stronger than ever with Sports Nation Nashville Season 2, March 2nd. Y'all check that out as well. And like I said, Link, Max, appreciate you guys so much. I'll keep rocking on, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and definitely check them out, Sports Nation Nashville. I think you guys are on. I know you guys are on YouTube and Facebook. Anywhere else I don't know?
No, just YouTube and Facebook right now. I think we're working on Spotify. Blueface may be able to fact check me on that, but as of right now, for sure, Facebook and YouTube.
Awesome.
All right. And as always, guys, if you want to follow us, Titans Global Podcast, pretty much anywhere you get your social media, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even all the above. And if you want to follow me, it's Maximus Titan Fan on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want to follow Link, obviously it's Link Rogers on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for joining us yet again for another awesome week of Titans Global Podcast. We love you guys. Thank you again for all the comments. Maddox had to jump in there and tell you. Thank you, Terry. We appreciate that. We appreciate all the love, everybody. Thank you for coming out. Join us next week. We're back on our original time. Actually, it's going to be this week. It's going to be Friday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. We're going back on with Mike Patton. So join us for that. Until then, tighten up. Peace out.